Moscow is a city with a rich history, and this history is not limited to just the above-ground attractions. Under the streets and squares of this metropolis, there is a whole world hidden, shrouded in secrets and legends. Legends say that in the Moscow dungeons, you can find not only ancient tunnels and bunkers, but also forgotten treasures left by generations. What secrets of the past are kept in these labyrinths? What is our government hiding from us? Let's figure it out. The capital of Russia is one of the most unexplored places on the map. In fact, Moscow is perhaps the most mysterious and classified city in the world. For several centuries, information about an underground city hidden in the depths of Moscow has been appearing in various sources. There may be countless treasures of Russian czars, rare works of art, and even a lost library there. Despite the numerous obstacles that the authorities put up, citing security requirements, diggers have managed to establish that underground Moscow goes down at least 12 levels. On one of the levels, presumably 10, there is even a whole sea. A whole fleet can even move along the tunnels with water. And the center of the capital is dug up with numerous tunnels so that it resembles a head of cheese. If you consider that by the beginning of the 19th century, there was a whole system of passages in the premises under Moscow, and later metro markers were added to them, then the picture is frightening, and there is a danger of collapse of many Moscow buildings. Archaeologists warn that the dilapidated voids threaten the collapse of the Lenin Library, the Bolshoi Theater, the Historical Museum, the Metropole Hotel, and a number of other architectural monuments. Researchers were actively hindered by state security agencies who feared that scientists would reveal and publish some secrets that should not be disclosed. Researchers were actively hindered by state security agencies who feared that scientists would reveal and publish some secrets that should not be disclosed. For example, various historians claim that along with the public lines of the Moscow subway, the capital also built the so-called Metro 2, which was a whole network of secret transport routes and stations used by government officials. The main part of the classified Metro 2 was a secret bunker. It is allegedly located in Remenki, under a vacant lot, not far from the main building of Moscow State University. The depth of the bunker is 180 to 200 meters. Capacity, 15,000 people. At the same time, the purpose of the bunker is not entirely clear. According to the data voiced by the former mayor of Moscow, Gavril Popov, on the air of the radio station Echo of Moscow, the bunker in Remenki houses a depot and a service station. It is unknown when the bunker was built, but the complex of buildings above the mythical bunker was built in 1975. It is also believed that the bunker city in Remenki is connected by tunnels to other strategically important objects of Moscow. Now, a few words about the secret library. Imagine a secret room filled with ancient manuscripts, scrolls, and rare books. This is not a frame from an Indiana Jones movie, but a possible reality, the classic library of Ivan the Terrible. There are many versions of what is stored in this library. According to one of them, it contains unique literature that describes the past, present, and future of our world. For several centuries, historians and treasure hunters have been looking for its traces, but the location of the treasury remains a mystery. It is believed that it is hidden in a dungeon under Moscow, but its exact location has not yet been revealed. Despite the fact that scientists have not been able to find the lost library of Ivan the Terrible, researchers have collected a lot of interesting materials about underground Moscow. Under the capital of Russia, there is a huge architectural structure, which includes spacious stone galleries, vast halls, underground corridors, a real repository of antiquities. Long staircases, almost bottomless wells, hiding places, mountains of stones, flooded passages, walled-up doors, and much more. Most of this secret city was built of white stone and bricks. But if there was some kind of underground city, then there is a map of it. Soviet historian Ignatiy Stiletsky presented his own plan of underground Moscow in 1912 at a meeting of the Society of Graduates of the Archaeological Institute. He stated that almost all the buildings of the 16th and 17th centuries, located in the center of the capital, are connected to the Kremlin by a whole network of underground passages, more like a labyrinth. According to the scientists, the underground city was built in the 15th century according to the design of the Italian architect Aristotele Fioravento, and he was given such an order. Grand Duchess Sofia, who considered it necessary to take care of the security of the state treasury and other valuable property, which should be kept away from prying eyes. The ruler of the Moscow Principality, who came from an ancient family of Byzantine emperors, understood perfectly well the importance of preserving state secrets and where it was best to hide secret negotiations and personal intrigues. Then underground Moscow expanded, deepened, and was completed over the generations, remaining a closed object, the existence of which was only vaguely rumored. According to researchers, even representatives of the Romanov dynasty did not have complete information about the secret city, and many tunnels and passages were subsequently deliberately destroyed. Stiletsky compiled a plan of underground Moscow based on information about 350 secret objects, passages, stairs, columns, rooms with a high vault, arches, wells. In the basement of the former palace of Ernest and Aegon Byron, the favorite of Empress Anna, there was a secret passage to the Sparrow Hills, leading to the other bank of the Moscow River. Now on the site of this castle is the Kotelnicheskaya embankment. In the courtyard of the Pashkov house, which now belongs to the Russian State Library, there is an ancient polygel where a well 5 meters in diameter was discovered, the walls of which were lined with white stone blocks. It was covered with earth and rubble. The well served as a kind of fork, where several underground passages converged. A hatch in the pavement near the sacristy of the Annunciation Cathedral closed the entrance to a stone staircase leading far down. Underground tunnels with secret rooms led from there to the faceted chamber of the Kremlin and to the Archangel Cathedral. The Novodevichy convent was connected to the Albert Gubner cotton factory, located in Kamovniki. Secret passages ran under the Donskoy and Simonov monasteries, under the Neskuchny garden, under the Golitsyn Charity Hospital, under the Yusupov Palace in Bolshoi Karatonievsky Lane, and many other cultural heritage sites. Steps of a stone staircase leading downwards were also discovered in the basement of the Streshnev estate on Bolshaya Nikitskaya Street. Steletsky began clearing the steps, but at night an unknown person deliberately damaged the basement and thus disrupted the work that had begun. No matter how enthusiastic Ignatiy Yakovlevich was, he could not clear all the rubble he discovered, of which there were a great many in the dungeons of Moscow. This suggests that for many centuries, the capital's nobility attempted to hide their secrets and treasures in the depths of the first throne. Sometimes the curiosity of a scientist would come across massive oak doors locked with barn locks. However, modern scientists, while exploring the Moscow underground world, were still able to discover very interesting finds. For example, in 1980, during the construction of the Borovitskaya metro station, an entire red brick house was discovered at a depth of 6 meters. This is a building from the mid-16th century, which once belonged to the village of Staro Vagankovo. But the most amazing thing is that, according to architects, this house did not just end up underground. It is part of the Oprichnina court, which went underground due to a natural disaster. These are the secrets that the Moscow land holds. The history of the construction of the Moscow metro is full of not only technical achievements, but also testifies to kindness and honesty. One of such stories, described in Tatiana Nefidova's book Above Moscow, was the discovery of an icon at the Prospect Mira station. An elderly man who once worked for the porcelain king Kuznetsov told the builders that 60 years ago, he hid an icon there on the orders of the owner. When the icon was found and given to him, he, touched, ordered a prayer for the health of the one who found it. This story reminds us that even during large-scale construction work, there is room for humanity and gratitude. It turns out that not only history, but also an entire chronicle of the earth is hidden under Moscow. During the construction of the Novokuznetskaya station, metro builders found a large pot filled with almost 20,000 silver coins from the era of Peter the Great in the end of the 17th century. But what is even more amazing is that they constantly find fossilized remains of animals, birds, and fish that lived millions of years ago in different geological periods, from the Cretaceous to the Cambrian. Here is a historical and geological museum under our feet, but that's not all. In April 2014, during the construction of the Rumiantsevo metro station in the southwest of the capital, a treasure was found. 3 copper vessels with jewelry and coins from the late 16th, early 17th centuries. According to Itar Tass, the find was made during soil excavation. Who did these treasures belong to? How did they end up underground? Perhaps someday we will learn the answers to these questions. Secrets of the Kremlin. No one will argue that the Moscow Kremlin is a unique place where decisions influencing the course of world history have been made for many centuries. But there are also many secrets buried in its depths. As the scientist Aya Steletsky pointed out, the construction of the above-ground Kremlin began only after Aristotle Fioravanti completed the underground part of this architectural masterpiece. Then he began building the Tainitskaya Tower, and then another Italian architect took up the baton, Pietro Antonio Solari, known in Moscow under the name of Pyotr Fryazin. Most of the underground Kremlin remained unexplored, because at all times access to this specially protected cultural heritage site was limited. But Ignatiy Steletsky managed to visit the dungeons of the Kutafya, Arsenalnaya, and Borovitskaya towers. The scientist was amazed by the enormous size of these rooms, because in some places the height of the basements reached 6 to 9 meters. These were real stone galleries from which several underground passages led. It is interesting that in the shaft near the Kutafya Tower, the researcher found a coffin with a knight and chainmail. It is possible that Steletsky saw other objects of historical value but did not talk about them in his book. Is this the reason for the interest in his archive on the part of private individuals and collectors? Underground passages connect all the towers of the Kremlin and then lead in all directions, including under the Moscow River. It is possible that the tunnel system was created in case of a long siege of the ruler's residence. Cavalry units could freely gallop through the secret passages. Carts with provisions could pass, and in case of danger, the inhabitants of the royal chambers had the opportunity to leave the Kremlin captured by the enemy. This did not happen, of course, but precaution is never superfluous. Since Peter I had moved his residence to St. Petersburg, subsequent representatives of the Romanov dynasty were not interested in the underground part of the Moscow Kremlin. Information about secret passages and rooms was lost. The tunnels themselves were blocked in many places. In 1838, the construction of the Grand Kremlin Palace began. Workers who dug a pit at this place discovered an underground church with secret passages and corridors. But they did not report the find to scientists. They simply filled all the voids with earth and rubble. However, archaeology did not bother the builders of the metro either. Near the Kutafia Tower, they discovered an ancient cemetery. The metro builders simply took all the tombstones to the dump. According to the testimony of many people who lived and worked in the Kremlin at different times, from time to time there are holes in its ground, which are simply filled with rubble and concreted. Underground Moscow is still waiting for its explorers. Perhaps the time will come when the lower part of the Kremlin will open to tourists and a real museum will be created there, which Ignatiy Yakovlevich Stiletsky dreamed of.